Sam stood on the corner of Adelaide and Albert Streets in the heart of Brisbane City, watching the early morning crowds ebb and flow like the brown waters of the Brisbane River a few blocks away. In his hands he clutched a sky-blue Olivetti typewriter, a prized possession that had been gifted to him on his 18th birthday by his beloved grandmother just a few months before she passed away. The typewriter represented possibility to Sam. The blank sheet of paper, perpetually loaded in its carriage, whispered of stories waiting to be brought to life under the swift strokes of Sam's fingers. It had been his grandmother's idea for Sam to take up a post on this busy city corner with the Olivetti. "There are so many stories out there just waiting to be told," she had said in her lilting Irish brogue as she lay in her hospital bed, eyes bright even as her body faded. "Everybody's got a story in them, Sam, me boy, especially a love story. You've a way with words. Sit on that corner and invite those stories out of people. Gather up all that love and set it free on the page." So here Sam stood, a hand-painted sign propped against his knees. Sentimental writer collecting love stories. Do you have a tale to tell? He had been here for over an hour, smiling and nodding at the passing office workers and shop clerks, but no one had yet taken up the offer to sit in the small folding chair he had set up next to card table holding the Olivetti. Sam tried not to feel disheartened. His grandmother's belief sustained him. The stories would come. As if conjured by this thought, an elderly man disengaged himself from the flowing stream of pedestrians and tottered over to Sam's makeshift stall. He wore a tweed flat cap and a wool vest stretched over a generous belly. Half-moon glasses perched on a bumpy nose mapped with the capillaries of a life well lubricated. "Well now, and what's all this then?" the old man asked in a raspy voice, peering at Sam's sign through rheumy but curious eyes. "Good morning, sir." Sam greeted him with a warm smile. "I'm collecting love stories from the good people of Brisbane. Do you have a tale of the heart to share?" The old man let out a wheezy chuckle, revealing nicotine-stained teeth. "Oh, I reckon I might have a love story or two in me old bones. Not the soppy Hallmark kind, mind you, but I've known love in me time, sure enough." "I'd be honored to hear it," Sam said sincerely, gesturing to the empty chair. "Please have a seat."
"I'm Sam Kropka."
"Harry?" the old man replied, settling himself creakily onto the chair with a grateful sigh. He took off his cap and ran liver-spotted fingers through thin white hair. "Well now, Sam, have you got one of those voice recorders? I've never been much good at writin'. I prefer the old-fashioned way," Sam said, patting the Olivetti. "The sound of the keys, the smell of the ink, the feel of the paper is part of the magic. Just talk and I'll do my best to capture your words." Harry cocked an amused eyebrow. "Magic, is it? Well then, you'd best start typin', lad." And so Sam's fingers began to fly across the keys as old Harry spun a tale of love and loss. A story that had waited nearly 80 years to be told. Harry had been just 19 when World War II broke out, a strapping young lad from the Queensland timber town of Gympie. Like so many eager boys his age, he had rushed to enlist, hungry for adventure and to strike a blow against the Nazi menace half a world away. After a month of training, Private Harry Winslet shipped out with the 215th Battalion bound for the Middle East. It was in the dusty Egyptian heat, during a brief reprieve from the savage fighting against Rommel's Afrika Korps, that Harry met Aisha. She was a nurse at the Australian Field Hospital in Alexandria. A local girl with liquid dark eyes, lustrous black hair, and beautiful brown skin. To Harry's eyes, she was a diamond glinting amongst the drab sand and khaki. Their love affair began with furtive glances over supper trays and tentative smiles in the ward where Harry was laid up for a week with a bout of dysentery. As Harry regained his strength, he began to shadow Aisha as she made her rounds, carrying linens and medicine for her, enthralled by her gentle efficiency and the graceful sway of her hips under her starched white uniform. Aisha was charmed by the brawny young Aussie with the bashful smile and halting Arabic. She began to teach him her language during their moments together and delighted in his mangled but earnest attempts at mastering the throaty syllables. Somehow, amid the blood and fear and brutal exigencies of war, tender love took root and bloomed between them. At dusk, they would slip away beyond the compound and walk hand in hand beside the Green Nile, exchanging confidences and chaste kisses. Aisha dreamed of traveling to Australia with Harry after the war, of starting a new life together. But fate, as it so often does, had other plans. Urgent orders sent Harry's battalion to Tobruk, and he left Aisha with desperate vows to write and return to her. They clung to each other on the Alexandria dock, salt spray mingling with hot tears on their faces, as Harry pressed a lock of Aisha's hair between the pages of his diary. But the grim siege of Tobruk separated the young lovers for longer than either could have imagined. Endless months bled one into the other as Harry manned the perimeter against relentless German attacks and Aisha tended to the wounded and dying that clogged the hospital. Their passionate letters sustained them, even as they dwindled with the deprivations of the campaign. Finally, in late 1941, Tobruk was relieved and Harry was granted leave in Alexandria, fizzy with anticipation at the prospect of reuniting with his beloved Aisha. But when he arrived at the hospital, ashen-faced orderlies informed him that Aisha had succumbed to typhoid fever just days before. She was already buried in the cemetery outside of town. Harry had wept over her grave, the fragile lock of her hair pressed to his broken heart. Then, with the cold pragmatism of a soldier steeped in death, he had sealed his love for Aisha away and returned to the fight. After the war, Harry had gone home to Gympie, a hollowed-out husk. He married a nice local girl and raised 3 sons, but part of his soul had remained forever interred with Aisha under the Egyptian sands. The lock of her hair was all he had left of their truncated love. For over 50 years, it had remained hidden between the pages of his war diary, the ink fading and the paper growing brittle. But Harry's feelings for Aisha had never faded. The small felted strand was a sacred talisman embodying a purer, truer love than any he had known since. His wife had passed on a decade ago, his sons all grown with families of their own now. Here, in the mellow twilight of his life, on a busy Brisbane street corner, it felt right to finally give voice to this defining chapter of his youth and honor Aisha's memory. "She was the love of my life," Harry said simply as Sam's typing wound down. Tears carved shining rivulets through the deep seams of the old man's face. "All these years, I've carried her in my heart. What we had, it was magic. A magic strong enough to survive a war, strong enough to last a lifetime, even if that lifetime wasn't shared together." Harry reached into the breast pocket of his vest with trembling fingers and extracted an ancient, cracked leather wallet. From its depths, he tenderly pulled out a wisp of glossy black hair pressed flat and yellow between 2 fragments of card. He held it out to Sam. "That's my Aisha," he said in a choked whisper. Sam carefully took the fragile lock and the precious story it represented. He reverently laid both on the table next to the Olivetti. "Thank you, Harry," Sam said, his own eyes stinging and his voice husky. "Thank you for sharing your love story with me. I know it wasn't easy, but I'm privileged that you entrusted it to me." Harry nodded, unashamed of his tears. He felt lighter, freer, as if the burden of the untold story had been weighing on his old bones for far too long. "Me and my big mouth," Harry joked weakly, daubing at his face with a faded handkerchief. "I hope I haven't spoiled your morning with me maudlin tale." "On the contrary," Sam assured him. "I can't think of a better way to start the day. Your story, it's beautiful. It's the kind of love people dream about." Sam picked up the lock of Aisha's hair with gentle fingers and placed it back into Harry's outstretched palm, folding the old man's hands over it. "Don't hide her away anymore," Sam urged softly. "Frame this. Put it on your wall. Let Aisha's memory and the love you shared have a place of honor in the light." Harry closed his eyes and dipped his chin, overcome. When he looked up again, his watery blue eyes were lit with a profound gratitude. I'll do that," he promised gruffly. "It's time." With effort, the old digger heaved himself up from the chair, joints popping like firecrackers. He placed his cap back on his head and tugged the brim low. "You're doing a good thing here, Sam," Harry said, casting an appreciative glance at the typewriter and the sheaf of blank paper waiting to be filled with more stories. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The world needs more magic, more love, more telling of stories like mine and Aisha's." "I won't," Sam vowed. "If there's one thing my grandmother taught me, It's that love stories matter. They matter more than anything else. Harry rummaged in his pockets and pulled out a fistful of coins, tried to press them into Sam's hand. Here, I want to pay you for your time and trouble. But Sam closed Harry's gnarled fingers back over the money and pushed the old man's hand away. You don't owe me a cent, Sam said. I'm the one who's indebted to you. You've given me a treasure, a glimpse of real love. That's a gift beyond price. So thank you. The two men shook hands, the bond of the storyteller and the storykeeper sealed between them. Then, with a final flash of his stained teeth, old Harry Winslet turned and merged back into the pedestrian flow, standing a little taller as he limped towards home and the framed lock of hair that would finally take pride of place on his mantelpiece, a memorial to a love and a life that mattered beyond measure. Alone again on his corner, Sam flexed his fingers and spun Aisha and Harry's incredible tale through his mind, marveling at it. The purity, the intensity, the sheer tenacity of a love like that staggered him, filled him with an appreciative awe for the human heart and all it could endure. His grandmother had been right. There was a whole universe of stories out there just waiting for the proper encouragement to emerge. And now that Sam had heard his first one, his fingers itched for more. Who would be next? What other tales of love and loss, joy and woe, magic and melancholy lay dormant in the hearts of the thousands who passed through Brisbane's busy streets every day? Sam was determined to find out. With a broad smile and a welcoming wave, he called out to the passing crowd. Excuse me, ma'am, do you have a love story to share? How about you, sir? A tale of romance and adventure? Just a few minutes of your time. The morning waxed on, the subtropical sun climbing high and flooding the streets with molten gold. And one by one, drawn by Sam's earnest enthusiasm, people started to linger and then settle into the chair beside the sky-blue Olivetti. A woman in a smart pantsuit shrugging off her corporate veneer to reveal the shy, bookish girl who had penned an encoded note of admiration to a secret crush in high school. A whiskery old sailor spinning an uproarious yarn about a week-long dalliance with a cross-dressing cabaret singer in a raucous Hong Kong port. A haunted-looking indigenous man recounting in a near whisper how the mother of his children, his partner of 20 years, had been snatched away from him one night at a remote Northern Territory truck stop. Story after story. Love in all its shades and permutations. Whole lives shared in the space of minutes, distilled to their gritty, poignant, luminous essence under Sam's prism gaze and typewriter keys. His heart expanded with each tale, swelling to accommodate the love and the loss his new confidants entrusted to him. He felt the pulse of the city thrumming through him, every beating heart amplified and harmonized by the stories he was absorbing through his very skin. By noon, Sam was flying high on a potent brew of strong emotions and the clacking music of the Olivetti. But the crowd was thinning as the lunch hour approached. Stomachs overruled souls and pedestrians bustled off to fill their bellies, promising to come back later with more tales to tell. Sam decided to take a break himself before the afternoon session. He stood up from the typewriter, back crackling, fingers cramped into arthritic claws. But he was smiling so hard his cheeks hurt, his heart brimming with vicarious love and gratitude for his grandmother's dying wish. He was just straightening his sentimental writer sign where it had started to sag when a tentative tap on his shoulder startled him. He whipped around to find a girl standing behind him, a girl unlike any he had ever seen. She looked to be in her late teens, tall and coltish with skin the flawless, dewy bronze of a Polynesian sunset. The tattered sleeves of an oversized denim jacket, patched with colorful scraps of Ankara fabric, draped over graceful wrists jingling with a haphazard collection of bangles and friendship bracelets. A purple batik sarong was knotted loosely over black bicycle shorts, and her small, high breasts were cupped by an electric blue halter top that matched the streaks in her asymmetrical pixie cut. But it was her eyes that snared Sam, and snared him like hapless prey in a glittering web, huge and tilted under feathery brows, sparking with mischief and secrets, green and gold and brown all at once like sunlight through a forest canopy. She had the eyes of a punk fairy, of a defiant, untamed Titania setting the whole world on fire just for fun. "I hear you're the man to talk to if I have a story to tell," the girl said, and her smoky voice was molasses and cayenne, curling in the pit of Sam's stomach. She inclined her head towards his sign and then down at the Olivetti. Looks like you could use someone to spice up your collection. What do you say, have you got a taste for some edgier tales? For the kind of twisted love story that doesn't fit on a drugstore greeting card. She hopped up to perch irreverently on the edge of the card table before Sam could respond, swinging her sandaled feet and fixing him with those incredible eyes. Her gaze flicked over him like dragonfly wings, strobing and iridescent, seeming to peel back his khaki shirt and faded jeans and see right into his stuttering heart. I'm always ready for a story, Sam managed, mouth suddenly dry as the outback at noon, twisted or otherwise. As long as it's about love, I want to hear it all. The girl arched one pierced brow and gave him a crooked grin. It was full of sin and salvation in equal measure. Oh, sugar, it's got love in spades, a metric fuckton of love. You just might not recognize it under the black lipstick and torn fishnet. She leaned in close enough for Sam to drown in the scent of her patchouli and clove cigarettes and something wild and primal underneath. But I'm warning you now, wordsmith, she breathed against the whorls of his ear, making him shiver. This story is not for the faint of heart or the narrow of mind. It'll drag your vanilla imagination over hot coals and shatter all those pop music preconceptions of love you're so diligently clickety-clacking. So gird your loins and get those magic fingers ready. You're about to learn how the other half loves. Then she hopped off the table and sauntered purposefully off down the street in a jangle of bangles, throwing a wink over her shoulder as she went. Meet me at the Wickham after your shift, Kerouac. First drinks on me. Just look for the girl with the fairy eyes and the wicked grin. Sam gaped after her departing back, heart pounding against his ribs like a lovelorn pubescent. He felt drunk and dizzy, unmoored and ignited all at once. Who was this crazy, captivating creature? What kind of twisted love story could a girl who looked like a gypsy pirate queen possibly have to share? Questions cartwheeled through his fevered brain. Anticipation sizzled in his blood. He had never met anyone so magnetic, so fearlessly alive. She was an escapee from a glitter-encrusted wonderland, one of the beautiful freaks his straight-laced life had never made room for. Until now, Sam knew he'd be at the Wickham, wherever that was. He'd look it up, the instant his shift was over. Wild horses couldn't keep him away from the girl with the fairy eyes, from the dark and thrilling love story she had teased him with. As if in a trance, he drifted back to his chair and collapsed into it, head swimming. He stared down at the Olivetti's expectant keys without seeing them, his retinas tattooed with the parting image of the mystery girl's wicked grin. On autopilot, he flipped to a fresh sheet of paper, rolled it into the platen. His fingers moved of their own accord, typing out a title for the next story yet to unfold.